I'm actually a bit nervous standing here and tell you the Carmudi story. Why? I have before me AutoScout 24, ImmoScout 24 was speaking, founded in 1998. After me coming Shipstead, we have eBay as well. And here's a business, Carmudi, the car classifieds for the emerging markets, only on the market for 2 years now. We started off in 2014, beginning of 2014, a year and a half back. And we're already playing in the same league. We are called upon the stage at the same time as all those bigger players, big companies being around and telling us how the market works. I think in general, I don't have to go much into how a car classifieds work. I think that's pretty obvious for you. You know how it works. The thing is, what I want to tell you today is how is it to build up a car classifieds in the emerging markets, and what kind of big opportunity it is actually to look at emerging markets. We always look at the big deals coming through AutoScout 24 or the Scout Group being sold at $1 billion valuation. We're talking about Avito recently being sold, etc. But no one has really the emerging markets at its radar. Where did we start at the car classifieds? Of course, classifieds is an aggregator of the market in some form. We're aggregating data in one place. We want to get all the listings available in one place so people can choose. But that's not the end of the story. It all begins in the offline area where you have the lemon problem. I guess that sounds very familiar from your last lessons from university, where basically the seller has more information than the buyer actually has. How does it? All of you who ever bought a used car knows it's a big purchase for you. It's a very big purchase for you, and you don't really understand what is the quality of the car. To cut it short. In the offline space, there are a few things that have been done before. There's some form, they introduce signaling. You have those huge branded dealerships, they stand for a great reputation. You have in Germany, those state-required inspections, DEGRA and TÜV, that also stand for some form of quality. And of course, you also have warranties. So a used car dealer has to give a year-long warranty. But that's what you don't have in the online space. That's what's even missing in the online space. So that's why I think I found some very interesting pictures on the general classifieds. That's why I think if you talk about competition, that is not our competition, not at all. It's all moving into verticals at the end of the day. General classifieds, as I see them in our countries, they're just aggregating data. And that's what you get if you aggregate data. There is no customer value. There's no customer value to it, and you don't understand what you get. So the initial lemon problem is still alive. You're just being a traffic machine, I agree, but there's no business model behind it. You have to go beyond it. That's where we come into play. That's where we come into play. We're operating in markets as Bangladesh. That's a recent campaign we ran in Bangladesh, where we basically say it needs the expert to understand what a car is, what kind of car you have in front of you. It needs someone who understands, who helps you to filter, who gives you a certain quality of data, very basic stuff. If you remember what Craig was telling you before, that's already a bit more advanced for our markets. We start very basic, but we learn very quickly and catch up very quickly. But let's also give you a few insights. Where do you think we will head towards? I think we need to move, similar what Craig was telling before, we need to move more towards the transaction as a classified as the next step. We understood data, how to work with data, etc. But you need to move more towards the transaction itself. Does it mean we need to perform the transaction on our website? I don't know. But maybe observe the transaction. Bring in the trust element. How can we certify? We start off with certifying dealers in our countries. We are owning part of it if we are selling off leads to financial institutions. So it's already part of the transaction is in-house. We're understanding much better who are our buyers. It's not just generating traffic, someone, and just passing it out to listings and not knowing what actually happens. It's more than that. If you look at Carmudi, it's a global operation. The interesting thing is we are operating out of Berlin. Now, no one would actually think that the leading car classifieds in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Bangladesh, in the Philippines are eventually operated out of Berlin. Yeah? We're operating from there. We have our intelligence in Berlin, coming from BI, product, IT, SEO, etc., and dominating those countries. And have local teams on the ground. I would say after a year and a half, we pretty much understood what it needs to work and operate in those countries. Yeah, it's not that easy. A lot of things that we say here in Europe, we take as a given. It's much harder for us. We had to figure out how to get funding in, how to establish entities. If I just look to Bangladesh, it took us a year to establish an entity. How to move cash. If I look to Myanmar, I have a picture later, where we have those huge bags. You carry bags to the car dealer to actually buy a car. You never would imagine that to doing here in Germany, for example. A lot of things we figured out eventually. Also, we are, I would say, a very cultural mixed company with 25 languages operating in those 20 countries. We have about more than 40 cities active and a field force of about 500 people on the ground. Also the markets we look at. We always tend to say, okay, there's a big India, there's a big Brazil, huge opportunities. But just look at the markets we're operating in Asia. Just Asia, the 7 markets we're operating in, yeah, not taken in India or China. Those are 2 billion markets, 2 billion people markets, 2 billion people just in Asia we are addressing. Yeah? Indonesia, 250 million people, Philippines, over 100 million people, etc. I don't say that all of them will eventually buy a car, but a lot of them will buy a motorcycle, a car. A lot of them will actually try to get financing, try to get a warranty, etc. And just look at the growth of those markets. We always look at Germany and say, okay, Autoscout24, very profitable business, Mobility, very profitable business in an 80 million people market. Yeah? All the car penetration is higher, yes, but still Asia much more interesting also from a growth perspective. Very quickly also, we have about 10,000 dealers, have relations to 10,000 dealers in those markets, going out with them, branding them heavily. We have those relations. We are building on those relations also going forward to eventually monetize them at some point. Churn very low. Just to give you an idea as well, it's what we achieved in a year and a half. We slowly built the business to 5 million visitors a month just in Asia. Interesting fact is that 65% of our traffic is mobile traffic. Yeah, it's also interesting. Most of the countries, they will never own a desktop PC, they will never own a laptop. It just goes straight to the smartphone. That also has some challenges for our product. 50% of our traffic is organic. Yeah? So it's a very healthy and sustainable business we are building here. Last slide for me. We already raised 30 million. Yeah, we will raise eventually more to grow those markets, to be the unbeaten leader in those markets, and also to launch more services in those markets. Just a funny picture here. It shows a bank where a car dealer brings in the money from selling 2 cars. Yeah? Thank you very much.